Hello, everyone. Welcome to L2Bit's KYB series. And obviously, KYB stands for Know Your Builder. The aim of this series is to showcase what the given ecosystems are through the projects that are building and that are present and communities that are present in those ecosystems. And today we have a great pleasure hosting the OG of crypto, Griff Green, who is building a ton in optimism, and hopefully we'll be able to get through all of it today. But for those that don't know you, maybe there are some. Please, Griff, give us a short intro, who you are, and how you made it to crypto.
I'm still recovering from your KYB comment. I thought I was gonna have to like pull out some legal entity documents, and I was like so scared. That's the OG builders in the space. KYB is scary, at least for me. Because I came into this space as a crazy anarchist, and so KYB is not my thing. I my first project was the DAO back in 2015, 2016. It went swimmingly as far as hacks go. We recovered, we raised 14% of all Ether in existence, and then were hacked for like, 4% of all Ether in existence. But we were able to hard fork the network and recover all the money. And surprisingly, everyone who participated, everyone in Ethereum made money off of the DAO hack because Ether Classic just appeared out of nowhere and like airdropped a bunch of people a bunch of money, which is so crazy. So that was crazy experience. That was my first project in Web3. And
Fun fact,
yeah.
sorry for interrupting, but fun fact is that the DAO is the thing that brought me into crypto. Like I've been
Hmm.
following Bitcoin and I had friends in Bitcoin before, but I was like, like that's not interesting. But with the DAO, like that is something actually that brought me into like that made me switch to actually being interested in crypto full time.
I was
That
still in
yeah.
school doing the DAO.
You know, funny story, I was too. I actually got the first master's degree in digital currencies, the first degree in digital currencies ever. And I collected my diploma a week after the Dow hack. So, um, literally was like, okay, I'm going to fly to Cyprus, get this diploma, and then I got to get back to work. Um, and yeah, and I got in this space for the same reason. Like in that master's degree, I wrote a white paper for a bike sharing economy run by a DAO, and this is 2015. Back then there was like BitShares and Mastercoin and all these like DAO, like what do they call them? Bitcoin 2.0s is almost like what they were calling them, right? And then Ethereum came out of nowhere and just blew them all away. And so I got sucked into the Ethereum space hard. It was like really aligned with my values because I've always been in this space so that we can build something better than governments. And after the DAO hack, my theory of change became I partnered with Jordi Bellina, who helped me hack the DAO and rescue all the funds. And we started a project called Giveth. And the theory behind Giveth is, most people know it as the best donation platform in the space. It's like right up there with Gitcoin. Gitcoin does quadratic funding. Giveth is like always on 24/7. You can donate to any project. We give donation rewards. We do all these cool things. But the real story behind it is we wanted to build something better than governments. And a surprising fact, but when governments fail to provide value that society demands, people start nonprofits. So if we want to build a system that's better than governments that we can use to coordinate society, we should really be looking at the nonprofit space. They are the free market solution to governments. Now, I'm not saying governments are bad, although they tend to have some horrible like things that they do. But they're actually the best solution we have for providing public goods. Nonprofits have a horrible incentive program. It's honestly just a low bar. So if we in crypto can improve nonprofits, it's like imagine launching tokens for a nonprofit. All you have to do is lose less money than donations. So it's pretty low bar.
So
So
to,
yeah.
to 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 also add to that, like I founded first nonprofit, like I've been building first nonprofit in my life like 15 years ago, and I'm still in the board of this foundation. So I totally get what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a low bar. Nonprofits are a tough biz, especially when you're competing with governments who basically can print money, right? So our goal when we launched Giveth was actually to make it so nonprofits could print money. Nonprofits could launch their own DAOs and actually nonprofits can't really have business models, but they can have economic models. They are creating value. And I believe we can create economies around the value they create. So in the first version of Giveth, when you donated to a nonprofit, you got a token in that nonprofit. I learned a lot about liquidity. I learned a lot about a lot of things. And since then, Giveth has evolved a lot. Okay, so maybe I'll fast forward here. So Giveth went through many iterations. In 2019, it was really down and out. It was the bear market. It was tough times. So we kind of transitioned into focusing more on Common Stack and General Magic. And so I started these other two orgs, and Common Stack was really part of Giveth, and our goal was to create bonding curves to solve the liquidity problem that then could launch economies. But then Giveth kind of was revived in the middle of all of this when a bunch of contributors came out of nowhere and were like, "Let's do Giveth, let's bring donations back," And so we launched a new version of Giveth also in 2020, and then we also were building out the token engineering commons, because what we really need is safe token engineered protocols. When I say token engineering, think of it like civil engineering. Anyone can build a token, anyone can launch a token, and anyone can build a bridge. But launching a token does not make you a token engineer, and building a bridge doesn't make you a civil engineer. Civil engineers care about ethics. They look at what happened, best practices. They have a commitment to society that they're not going to make the world worse, that they're going to, like in Canada, well, I'm in Toronto right now. In Canada, they give all engineers an iron ring. That's, it's supposed to be from a bridge that collapsed, right? And they wear it on the pinky finger of their signing hand so that when they sign documents, they realize that people could get hurt if they do things wrong. And that's the kind of design focus we need in crypto. We need token engineers, not tokenomics meme lords. But that's a side tangent. So we launched the token engineering commons with the augmented bonding curve. I also founded DApp Node in 2018 to improve decentralization of nodes. And DApp Node launched a token, Giveth launched a token, Token Engineering Commons launched a token, all in like 21, 22. And that's why that was partly all of those tokens were launched by my organization, General Magic, which is a org that is really focused on helping other projects launch their work. It's kind of like a consulting arm. It's how Giveth survives the bear market, honestly, because like when times are tough, we can't raise money for doing public goods work, so we basically consult and we do work in the space, so I don't have to lay people off. That's important to me. We never had to do layoffs, which is really cool. Thank God, even though we're mostly funded on donations and grants. And since then, since we survived the bear market with General Magic, and we built a lot of cool products, and most of them have been emerging in the optimism space, because what optimism does that's so exciting to me is they focus on one person, one vote. They have the citizens' house that, every other DAO out there, every other L2. I haven't seen anyone, although I hear rumors Eigenlayer might do it. But I haven't really seen any other large DAO focus on reputation, citizens, one person, one vote. It's very lax. It's all plutocracy all over the place. And optimism is definitely the biggest one doing it. So that is what excites me to build in this space, because they're doing it right. It can't be all about money. We need to have other agents involved. I don't know. How do you feel about that, Chris?
Absolutely. That's first of all, it's an amazing story. I didn't know about some parts of them. But now let's move into those projects that you are building on optimism. And if you could show us, because a picture is worth 1,000 words. If you could show us what exactly is it that you're building in optimism, and what is it that you bring? What kind of tools do you bring to optimism?
Sure. So I got too
Yeah,
many. I got
to
too many. So watch out.
jumping into
Um,
it, but yeah, to add to that, like firstly, like amazing story, especially starting with the DAO and everything. But like for me, like today, I was really excited to do this podcast because I've known you for a while. We have done the Delegate Corner podcast a while ago. I've met you in real life, and I know that you were building a bunch of things, right? But I exactly because you were building like so many different tools and platforms and projects, I didn't have in my mind like how many, how they all tie in together, where everything's at, what everything's doing. So I'm really excited just to actually see it and get a quick like pitch, if you will, or
yeah,
explanation of everything. So yeah,
yeah,
take it away.
yeah. It's all really, we consider this the Giveth Galaxy. You said before they call it Griff Galaxy. It's the Giveth Galaxy. It's close. Um, and they're all built with the idea that how can we build something better than governments? And my theory is that it's not going to be one monolithic thing that takes monopoly control over all the public goods. It's going to be lots of modular tools that are that small groups of people are using to profitably provide public services, competing to provide public services. And if we do things right in crypto, and if people fucking cared about any of this, then I think we would speed this up and we could get it done in a few years because we're really close. Um, yeah. So yeah, ending governments one public service at a time. That's my dream. Either way, uh, first off, thank you to Optimism for funding almost everything that I'm doing through Retro PGF, including Giveth. Giveth was a heavy recipient of Retro PGF. We actually have I didn't have this here, but we brought our token to Optimism. Most of our liquidity is on Optimism, and you can farm the Give token on OP mainnet, and you can donate, of course, any token on Optimism. We run this round is actually on base. The Give a Palooza round. I don't know if this will still be running when this podcast gets out, but it's running for until like September 24th, I think, maybe September 25th.
Benefit.
And we have like a $25,000 matching pool. This is Gitcoin QF. But the nice thing is there's no smart contracts in the middle. With Giveth, when you donate, if you want to send OP on OP mainnet to a project, let's see, like Palestine Children Relief Fund, you can do a super fluid stream. So you can stream like some give tokens to them. I think I already am actually. So I already have a recurring donation with this project, so I could actually modify it here and add more. Or you can make a donation just like this, donate 11 OP to it. And you can donate 5% to Giveth. You can make it anonymous or not. Now, the thing about making it anonymous is it's not really anonymous because on chain just hides it from the front end. But one day we'll be able to connect with some real on-chain anonymity to make it really anonymous. And then in this donation, what's really cool about this is it's truly peer-to-peer. I don't know if my MetaMask it's probably not popping up, but basically the MetaMask transaction is a transfer. It's just a transfer. It's peer-to-peer donations with no middleman.
Those
And that's what
projects,
yeah.
so those projects like
What?
Children's Relief Fund, they set up like their profiling campaign on Giveth, and you can just donate directly to them.
Yep, that's it. It's super simple, super basic. I mean, Gitcoin is great. I love Gitcoin, but it's so hard to force, um, you know, Palestine Children Relief Fund to get through the Gitcoin flow, okay, and create a project. It's really hard. We make it as simple, if not more simple, than Kickstarter, um, and everything's Web 2. And so then what's really nice here is I just donated like $11. That's gonna, be matched by the matching pool. On top of that, I have a chance to win uh 250,000 give tokens We just revised the way we do our givebacks program. We used to do it where every donation would get up to, 80% of your donation value. Now we're doing an experiment where now you're going to get up to 40% of your donation value, and the other half is put into more of a raffle. And 5 people are going to win a huge amount of give tokens. And so we're going to play off this like degen, gambling thing that is really popular in in crypto. People like gambling in crypto. Look at Polymarket going wild right now. Uh,
Yeah.
so and I think, more people play the lottery in the US than donate to nonprofits. So let's lean into that and let's make playing the lottery donating to nonprofits. That's what we're experimenting right now. And we are a real DAO, so it's up to the DAO to decide if that's the route we go. We also, with your staked give on Optimism, you can also like affect how these projects are sorted. We have this thing called Give Power. So you see this little rocket ship, right? So if you want to support, like, if you look down here, this order, like there's Roki down here. There's all sorts of great projects that are in our ecosystem raising funds in crypto, ETH Daily, but then next to, end homelessness with the homeless entrepreneur, and there's so many cool projects here. And if there's one that you really love, and you see it like, oh man, you have to scroll way down for it. Like Namespace is a super cool tool that's making it easy, so you can just like give them a little bit of give power and look how easy voting can be, you know? That's me
What is a
voting.
gift power?
Give power is staked give tokens that are, and then if you lock, it's like the VE curve mechanism, but if you lock them, then you get more give power. So one give token staked is one give power, but if you lock that one give token for a year, it's worth over 5 give power. And
Cool.
we did the VE curve mechanism, but we square rooted it instead of doing a linear. We do it quadratic, and we make the max a year because 5 years is a little much. The VE curve mechanism is really degen, and I don't really like, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And
but
the boost basically does what? Like shows it up higher on the UI, or also affects like matching pools or whatever.
it does two things. It shows it up higher on the UI. So let me go back here. Um, it shows up higher on the UI and it increases the donation givebacks percent.
Okay.
So if you donate to a project that has more give power staked, then you have a better odds of winning the raffle, and you have better odds, and you get more give tokens directly. So, in 6 weeks we're going to have a vote to decide, do we do all lottery or no lottery or half lottery? We're going to decide, but right now we're experimenting with half and half. So you will get more give tokens, and it updates every 5 minutes. So I'm hoping it'll update because I gave it a nice boost. But yeah, and so it's kind of like the VE curve mechanism where you're directing liquidity mining rewards with VE curve, but with give power, you're directing donation rewards, you know? So, and this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to bring the good things from crypto into the nonprofit space. And I'm really surprised there isn't more like token curated registries and like more like fun governance things happening in crypto. I mean, they're there, like VE Curve is there, but people don't even talk about it as like a TCR anymore, you know?
So
Token,
basically, if you if I understand correctly, what we could say is that if anybody wants to do some initiative and gather people's support for that initiative, they should definitely create a profile on Giveth and start collecting money, start collecting support with that, right?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. And see, I boosted it, right? And so now it's like on the first page. It went from I had to scroll and scroll and scroll, and now I boosted it and now it's on the first page. So like you can actually this is like a way give token holders on Optimism can actually affect who is going to be discovered in Giveth QF rounds, which I think is super cool, at least.
Yeah.
Um,
Is the like the target projects, let's say the ones that raise money, like supposed to be just like open sort of public goods, or like
yeah.
can anyone? Okay. Is there
So
like some sort of like curation, or how does it work on that?
So people think Giveth has like it's like, oh, it's just donations. Dude, there is so much going on. We're fucking crazy. Okay. There's so much going on. So like we actually are decentralized. So right now we have a centralized verification process. So if anyone can create a project on Giveth. So if I go here, I go all projects, you can see all the projects on Giveth. We have 5,358 projects on Giveth. And you can sort by verified or not verified. So like all the verified projects come up first, but you can find projects that aren't verified, you know? And those not verified projects, um, so verified to be a verified project, you have to apply for verification, and it's basically just a simple form where you describe your project, and you have to have had some success in the past, like as in you've raised donations and used them. It can't just be unless it's a one-off project. We make an exception for like, oh, we're throwing this event. You know, it's like, okay, have you thrown events in the past? Okay, cool. You can be a verified project, even though this project hasn't done anything, so we have a few exceptions, but for the most part, you have to have a history of success and you have to be a public good. And the problem with that is that what is a public good? You know? And right now it is Ashley, Wild Wanderer in Discord. She is our queen of public goods. She decides if you're a public good or not. Her and her team, Nicola and Roberto and a few other people, like, they review every project on the platform and verify, are they providing a public good or not? If not, then they can't be verified. Oh, we're changing that. We're changing that. We're decentralizing it. So, one thing that has been a problem is that in these QF rounds, you can only boost verified projects, and sometimes we did like we'll do like an ecosystem round, and it's a QF round, but like verified projects can show up first and and can be boosted, and then non-verified projects that are legit projects in that ecosystem, but they're not public goods. They're stuck at the bottom. It's not really fair. So but at the same time, we have to make sure that people aren't being imposters, that people aren't like doing fake projects. So we're actually partnering, through a great generous grant from Optimism. We're building this tool called DeVouch. DeVouch is something I was excited to present to you guys anyway, and so we're rolling into it because of this question. But with DeVouch right now, like you can vouch for retro PGF5 projects, and this will greatly help reviewers because you can also flag the project, right? And so, but it's not just for retro funding 5. That's we did it for retro funding 4, but we also are doing it for Giveth. So, if you we're experimenting with making the verification process vouches on DeVouch. So, and this is live now. If you vouch for a Giveth project on for a project on Giveth on DeVouch, then if it gets 3 vouches from either retro PGF4 badge holders. So we have here, I'll vouch for projects. I'm basically all of the categories, funny enough. So I'm a good person to show it off. I have a million addresses. Let me see if I can find mine.
Like a
Um,
form of like community curation in a way.
yeah, and it's really a network trust graph. And so, like if I want to vouch for Glow Dollar, I don't think I've vouched for Glow Dollar yet. So not everyone will see all of these options. I just happen to be all of these things. So, but I am a passport holder, a retro funding 4 badge holder, a super delegate in Optimism, a Giveth verifier, and a retro 5 funding 5 voter. If you came in here, Chris, you would only see probably RF5 voter, super delegate, and RF4 badge holder, you know? you wouldn't see these other options. But
Would see
basically,
also Gitcoin passport. So I probably
oh
am
yeah,
not only Giveth verifier.
you would not be a Giveth verifier.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna vouch. I'm gonna vouch for Glow Dollar. Great project, super legit. I can write a little thing. Hopefully better than that. Um, but um, but then when I vouch for it, that's one vouch. And what we're doing right now is like we still have the centralized verification process for this for the short period of time. Eventually, we hope to completely get rid of that, and gamify the whole process where right now, if a project gets 3 vouches, even if it's not a public good, it will at least be able to be boosted by give power. And later on, the next step is that we will actually completely decentralize the process. There will be a Giveth Verifier training program. And oh, by the way, those 3 vouchers, you have to be either an Optimism badge holder, an Optimism delegate, or a Giveth Verifier. And if you vouch for it, if any of those groups vouch for you, you're in. If you're just a random Gitcoin passport holder, honestly, Gitcoin passport's Sybil detection mechanism is like, it's okay, but that's a trust network that we're not going to add. And the coolest thing about DeVouch is that it's really built for as a back end product. This is more like a reference implementation front end. We're
Mhm.
going to build it into the front end of Giveth so that you can just vouch right here. We're actually talking to Launa from Metrics Garden to build it automated into Metrics Garden. So if someone like gives it a top rating in Metrics Garden, probably no one knows what I'm talking about with Metrics Garden. Um, with Metrics Garden is not my project, but I'm a
Yeah.
huge fan. Huge fan. I think it's really critical, and it's very similar to DeVouch. Oh, sorry, I don't want to search projects here. So you can basically, rank a project. You can vouch for a project, give it a thing. I don't really know too many of these. Let's see, what's a good one? Citizen Wallet. That's a cool one. So like, you can give it you can, they need General Magic to do their design. You can endorse it here, and what's great is that I can make it so that if we're going to build DeVouch in so that if you make this extremely upset, and you say this and you click submit, it'll make 2 attestations. It'll make the attestation on DeVouch and the attestation for Metrics Garden. We're
I
talking to
was
her about it.
I was laughing yesterday that definitely Polish designer had to be doing this because like you can only say that you are okay or upset or very upset.
Yeah,
It's negative.
she had it. She had it with 5 stars, which I would really love actually. The 5-star rating with that's what we need in these things. Like that's what has worked for Google Maps and TripAdvisor and Yelp. Like why would we try to reinvent the wheel? Um, you know, and that's what she had at first, but I think she's playing it so that it fits better with optimism, you know?
I used to be a designer. I tried redesigning 5 stars several times. I think that every designer needs to go through this at at some point to learn it the hard way that yeah, 5 stars work.
Exactly. Exactly. 5 stars works. Like things that work, let's just use them, not overthink it? Um, yeah, so okay, this is DeVouch, and DeVouch, I'm really excited to automate it so that, for instance, when you donate on Gitcoin, you can just click a checkbox and your donation is also automatically vouching. It's how do we make it so that DeVouch or these reputation systems in general, it doesn't have to be DeVouch, I don't care. How do we make it so these on-chain reputation for projects explicitly is building, you know? And so that's the effort with DeVouch.
I will, one evening this week, I will sit through it and give vouchers and flags.
Oh,
It seems cool.
that would be heroic. And I think it'll also help the 10 reviewers who have to review all these projects.
Yeah.
Retro Funding 5. Are you a reviewer?
No, I'm helping
Yeah.
someone.
Oh, cool. Nice. Well, you're helping all of them, and this is like, DeVouch is a way to bring the wisdom of the crowds into some of this work. But we just started it, so even though some of these things have like this one has 14 vouches, this one has a bunch of vouches, you know, like it's really low on the optimism vouches. So yeah, okay,
I don't want to rush you, but let's move forward so that we can
yeah.
also have some discussion about optimism.
Exactly. There's too many projects. So like here's another project that I just want to at least briefly mention because I saw it in the QF round and it's the Giveth House. And this if you're in Barcelona and you need a place to stay, and if you're watching this video, you're cool, Like come to Barcelona and stay for free in the Giveth House. We've been running this since 2017. Lots of cool people and cool projects have started by hacking at the Giveth House. It's just a hacker pad, 17 beds in Barcelona for crypto people for free. Come on down.
Dude, that's wild.
Really cool.
I'm literally
Yeah.
flying to Barcelona today evening.
I hope. Do you already have a hotel? Because the Giveth House is better. I promise you.
I have my cousin, like I was staying at my cousin, but I might just swing around. If anyone's there, I might meet someone.
Oh, you will meet people. Like people are always flowing through there. It's a really cool networking hub. It's a hacker pad where there's 17 beds. You sleep, co-work, and lots of whiteboards. Lots of fun. So, so that's one thing. Another thing which just hasn't even launched yet. Honestly, there's like, we're launching this probably tomorrow, but I'll show you. We soft launched it, so it kind of works already. So give praise to actually Syncus, are you here? Yeah. Give praise to Syncus for mm, inviting me to talk about all the fun stuff.
Christoph, you need to get on Robcast. You would be getting.
I am there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, let's let's give praise
With
to
me,
to,
I
to
need my
Zinkas.
face.
Optimism. So DeVouch was on-chain reputation for projects. Praise is on-chain reputation for people and now also projects. And what I'm really excited about with Praise is like, high vibes on-chain reputation. So, oh yeah, I didn't cast the channel. I think it has to be casted in a channel. I'm gonna cast it in Giveth. Let's see. So luckily we have this praise bot on Farcaster. And so praise, we've been doing praise in the Optimism Discord for a long time. You can dish praise to anyone in Optimism in the Discord, but the Discord is such a silo. Like the OP
Yeah.
Labs team isn't even in Discord, like most of the action doesn't happen in Discord. The action is on social media. So we just brought this to Farcaster so that let's see, here we go. So that now you can dish praise to anyone and you can mint them an attestation. Uh, and if the demo gods are friendly, this will work. Um, yeah, it looks like it's working. That's great. Because we launched it like 2 days ago and we have soft launched it and have not even publicized it. So it's a miracle that it worked. Um, and so now I just minted an attestation for Syncus that says that, thank you for doing this. And, I know it seems kind of silly. It's kind of like, but it serves two purposes. Number one, doom scrolling becomes gratitude scrolling. Like let's raise the vibes on these social media platforms. But also secondary, like how do we build reputation within our community? Like now this is very qualitative, and what we've done with praise is separate the like quantifying from the acknowledging. A lot of times you have like this tip culture and stuff like that. Um, Here we're actually just like removing the quantification and keeping it super high vibes. So that's and now there's an attestation out there, and that attestation could be quantified. That qualitative value could later be quantified into some kind of system.
So Synchos is able to retrieve all the praises that he received from on-chain data, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is a attestation. Let me see. Another bot message should pop up and give us a link to it on there. It is. Just had to refresh. So here's the attestation on chain. You know, it's just like my address and then my Farcaster handle is here. You know, gave Syncus praise for inviting me to talk about the fun stuff I'm doing on optimism. And you can see here um, there's a weight number. This could be later attested to have a weight to it. The attestation is revocable and you can change it and then you can replace it with something with a weight. And you know what's really great is I did not make this schema. We just went and grabbed Coordinape's schema so that Coordinape they have this like co-link thing where you can give people on-chain reputation. We're using their schema so that you can dish praise or get a co-link from Coordinape and the reputation data will all be very accessible. And this is what I love the most is this like interoperability of Web3, you know, shared
Cool.
backend.
This is actually super cool.
Yeah. So
People
I
can
really
build on
love
top
it.
of it.
Yeah, well, because that's what we should be doing, you know? That's what we should be doing. We need to build with each other. We need to share this data. We have this, that's like the whole point. I
Yeah.
don't know what else you're using blockchain for if you're not using it as a shared database. Anyway,
Very cool.
Yeah,
I'll
let's
get
move
up.
to the last one. And
Yeah,
then
pairwise.
I want to like by the way, before we go into it, because we have just like 8 minutes from the planned time, are you available to extend it a bit?
Yeah, I can go a little long.
Okay.
I'll message my next call and be like, "Hey, Steve, my buddy Steve, who cracks the whip and makes me do Twitter work, because otherwise I just wouldn't be active enough on Twitter." Hey, we're running late in a podcast. You can leave this in, by the way. I'm totally cool. Like I don't care. But let's dive into Pairwise. So Pairwise is one of my favorite projects right now because since like when we launched Giveth in 27 in 20 well when we launched the second iteration of Giveth, what we enabled we called liquid pledging. And it was like you could donate to a delegate and then that delegate could donate to a project for you. And then you would get an email that would say, hey, you have 3 days to reject the way this person is using your donation. And it was a super cool, super advanced Web3 tool, blah, 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 way ahead of its time, way too much friction. MetaMask barely existed, okay? Like we're talking, this is 2017, 2018. We had to, CryptoKitties came out. We had to redeploy everything on Rinkeby testnet and make a bridge because there were no open source block explorers at the time. Block Scout didn't exist. So we couldn't use a side chain because there was no side chain that could really work because there was no block explorer. You had to pay Etherscan 5K a month to get a block explorer. So we actually built a bridge, one of the first bridges ever in crypto, actually, to Rinkeby. So you would donate on mainnet, and then that would cost you God knows how much, unfortunately. But you donate to a project on mainnet, and then we'd create a token on Rinkeby and do stuff on Rinkeby because it had a block explorer and it was
Yeah.
free. And then when that token would get moved to a smart contract that was supposed to pay out to a nonprofit, then it would get rebridged. That token would get destroyed, and the bridge on mainnet would actually pay out to the nonprofit. Okay, now we learned our lessons and we went straight to direct transfers. But the thing that I was so excited about that process was this liquid delegation where you could delegate money to a delegate. Well, that delegate could delegate money to another delegate who would delegate money to another delegate. And you could have this like complete transition of liquid democracy basically, but with donations, right? Now with Pairwise, we're going to bring in real liquid democracy. So what we built with Pairwise is, and one of the things that I love optimism, but I think the citizens' house is too small. I think that it's, I feel like DAOs in general have kind of cheated. It's like, hey, we're going to DAO, but we're going to um, keep it under the Dunbar number of deciders. And that's cheating. That's cheating. You get, any governance works if you're only, making decisions with like 50 or 100 people. And I think that it's fair. These are billion-dollar organizations and they can't be experimenting with like, DAOs that don't really work at large scale. Fine. Okay. But it's cheating. I'm gonna maintain that it's cheating. And we need to build.
That's a separate conversation we could have.
Yeah. Well, I really think that if we, the meme of DAOs, the dream of DAOs is that we can have grassroots organizations, like anyone can have a voice in a DAO and actually help move the direction that a DAO goes. And Pairwise is our effort to do that. So we're making it so that anyone can signal in retro funding rounds. We're skipping retro funding 5 because, like, honestly, I just don't think anyone cares uh, in the community about like who's building the OP stack better. I also don't know that it'd be good signal, but we're going to do it again for retro funding 6, and we did it for retro funding 4, where basically you can vote, and the cool thing is that your votes are pseudonymous. So what we do is we actually will deploy an account abstraction wallet for you, and that wallet, you don't even know the address, okay? But it's going to make an on-chain attestation when you vote. But then we're going to use a zero knowledge proof to connect your on-chain reputation, which is like, for instance, my Griff.eth account, which has some OP tokens. It's a delegate, it's a badge holder, right? So then I will be able to vote. Actually, we made it to not, we had to restrict which stakeholder group you're a part of because there's these 4 stakeholder groups: badge holders, OP holders, delegates, and recipients, right? I really was excited to see the recipient results. And then those badge holders, all those different stakeholders could all vote. But because, there's only like 20 badge holders who are also delegates, so that would be really de-anonymizing. So we separated the delegates from the badge holders. Like you can only either be a delegate or a badge holder. Same with the recipients. There's some de-anonymizing things. So basically you can only be like 2 of the things. Anyone can be an OP holder, except for delegates. Delegates can only be delegates. Anyway, there's these different stakeholder groups and different rules we had to make to make it work. But so you connect once with MetaMask, your on or whatever wallet, your ledger, whatever you're holding your reputation account with. You connect that to your third web account using a zero knowledge proof. And we're using Semaphore, so you actually create like a baby job key, and then there's like a secret database, basically, right? Um, and we explain how it works here. We explain the results, and also there's like we did this vote, and you can see like how delegates voted, how badge holders voted, how it's different, how OP holders voted, and they each gave different results. And the voting system that we used, we made it, we tried to make it as simple as possible. So first you kind of have like, and fun. We wanted to make voting fun. So first, when you vote, it's kind of like Tinder, where it's like, which one do you like? This one or that one? This one or that one? And so like you can choose. I mean, you shouldn't go this fast. You should really read through, and in this case, see all the metrics, right? So you shouldn't go so fast. I'm going fast, and this is like, obviously Retro 4 is over, so it doesn't matter. And so once you do the filter, now the projects that you liked, now you're going to compare them and say which one you liked more, but 2 at a time, because it's generally understood in UX, beta testing, all this is like A/B testing. Like which one do you like more? Just pairwise assessment. You even see it in you see it all over the place. You see it in ChatGPT. They're like, which one of these responses was better, right? They're not making this up. This is just the better way to vote, in my opinion. for like this kind of high context situation. So, okay, which one is
Fun
better? And
story, fun story that I shared
yeah,
with Griff some time ago is that when we were doing retro funding 4, I was using Pairwise to to sort my preferences, but I saw on Twitter, on Polish Twitter, some Polish gaming journalist was using Pairwise to sort his games in order that he likes the most. And I was like, what? Because he had nothing to do with crypto. Simply for like he somehow found out about this tool that it allows him to rank his games that he likes, like it was 50 of them, and he used this tool to rank the games. And it was like awesome. Suddenly I saw it in the place that I would expect it the least.
yeah. But because this is just like, and this is, I feel like in crypto, we're just, we spend, what do they say? Like, at least in the chemical engineering, I was a chemical engineer. That's why I got my like degree in. And there's this phrase that was like, 2 hours in the library will save you 2 months in the lab.
Yeah.
And I think there's just way too much recreating the wheel in crypto, and we just need to take the systems that have been proven to work in the real world and, play them into our world, like bring them, make them Web3, improve them like this. I guarantee the app that he used, because it wasn't our Pairwise, unfortunately. I guarantee the app that he used was not anonymous. He couldn't aggregate his votes. It wasn't a voting tool. It was like just for his own use. And all the data was, was gathered by the app and probably used for God knows what, sold to someone. Here we don't have access to your votes. We don't know what you voted. Um, we did so in this testing round in Retro 4, we could de-anonymize it because we wanted to test it and make sure that we didn't have any bugs, basically. But in Retro Funding 6, it will be completely pseudonymous. We can't and we didn't end up finding any bugs, which was great in Retro Funding 4. Um, but yeah, once you do that last like editing, once you do the comparisons, it's like two projects come up, you pick one, two projects come up, you pick one. We'll sort it for you based off of that. And if you're like, actually, I love DACI NFT, move it up, Um, and then but it's not as good as Manifold. So you can just kind of adjust it there, save changes, and then you can submit the vote, and we actually ask for a comment so that we could give some feedback to people. Yep. And
Cool.
then what's great is it's submitting the vote and no MetaMask is going to pop up because this is all account abstraction wallets and it's super easy.
Cool.
Okay.
So it was a great presentation. Actually, no, it was great seeing all those things all together. And now I would like to, we are running out of time and I want to go through, we are talking about optimism here. Like, even though we were presenting your projects, we are actually talking about optimism because all those things are connected to optimism, live in optimism. So I would like to ask you, why optimism? Like, what made you, like, what brought you to optimism to build that?
I mean, the vision. I'm so aligned with the vision. I can't tell you. At least the original vision that was posted. They changed the vision a little bit, and it's not as cool as it was when they launched. But I really believe that if we want to fix the world, we need to fix public goods, and optimism is so aligned with that. Um, yeah, this impact equals profit is basically what I've been preaching since I got into crypto, that we need to make nonprofits profitable. And so that's what got me in. And I also have faced the scaling issues, as I said, with Rinkeby. So I'm very much and also, I founded Giveth with Jordi Bellina, and Jordy is like the one of the big brains behind ZK EVM and like zero knowledge proofs in general. So like, he went we kind of like divide and conquer here. I'm focused still on the like app layer, and he's focus completely on scaling, and it's really important to me, that we can bring this to the real world. So L2 with focus on impact equals profit, dude, sign me up.
What makes so okay, I got what brought you there, but right now, like what makes you Optimism unique that it's the best place for you to build?
Well, I really love the retro funding rounds, like innovating on how do we distribute funding. Like other groups are just using grants, and like the grant process is so horrible. And even in Optimism, they use grants, of course, and it's always a horrible process, especially in Web3, where it's like you fill out a grant, you say what you want to do, and then you have to wait a couple months, and it's a whole process, and then you get some funding, maybe, or maybe it's locked for a year. That's what Optimism does, right? But then you have to fulfill the milestones of the grant. And, you know, during that time, it's already been 2 months probably. So now crypto has changed drastically. What will actually work has changed drastically, and now you have to fulfill these milestones and build probably in a slightly wrong direction to fulfill the milestones. And the crypto market, you need to be agile. You need to be agile. You need to be able to bring in new tech. You need to be able to pivot with what is the market sentiment. You need to be able to, and the grant process doesn't allow that, because you just have to say what you're going to do, then do it to collect the money. And the incentives are also horribly misaligned, where it's like you're you're like, oh yeah, I'm just your incentives. Now, it doesn't mean everyone does this, but the incentives are do as little as possible to complete the objections of object the milestones, and then collect the money. That's the incentive. Whereas retro funding is like make impact. However that is, pivot, try things, change things, do whatever, and we're going to look at the back and see, hey, how'd you do? And I
Uh,
like that.
I can tell you that like I've been into grants for way too long, and I can tell you that it's not just crypto thing. Like simply grants as a tool is not really well suited for innovation and for startups for the
No.
reasons that you just covered. But I've seen it also in many innovation focused grant programs, for example, in with EU funds and stuff like that. And all of them have all the issues that you mentioned, but simply amplified by a ton.
Yeah.
Okay,
Speaking
yep.
of that, I wanted to ask, like, you mentioned that Giveth has received RPGF from Optimism, and I want to ask, firstly, what has your experience with RPGF been, but also what has your experience, because you're also a delegate, but also building on Optimism, so you have the interface with the DAO and governance a fair bit, let's say. So I wanted to get your perspective on what your experience has been with those two things, like with RPGF as a builder in Optimism, and also like with the general DAO, both as a builder but also as a delegate.
I think that there's still a lot of things to deal with. I want to say that Optimism deals with some of the biggest problems in these systems better than any DAO out there. I'm also a delegate in ENS, and I'm a delegate in Arbitrum, and Optimism does it the best. Okay. Uh, I love ENS and Arbitrum, but like the conflicts of interest, it's both of those DAOs actually almost require me to vote for myself, which is like because that's the game. That's the game they want you to play. Uh, you're supposed to vote for yourself. The conflict of interest in these DAOs is just horrible, and Optimism covers it the best. So, like for retro funding, I can't vote for myself. I like that. I have to declare my conflicts of interest. That is just a better design. So I really appreciate the guardrails and the professionalism that Optimism puts into these systems. And I really, really love the options. Like, all of these things that I showed you, they got like DeVouch, Pairwise, Praise, and Giveth all got grants and retro PGF. You know, we're applying for all the funding we can from Optimism, and we're very lucky to be receiving it. And I think that we're also delivering. Now, unfortunately, these are applications that are very experimental in the reputation space. They're not like they're not big money makers for me. I'll just be straight up. Like these are not things that I can go into the startup space and go get investment for. It's not, no one's going to invest in Giveth, unfortunately. People buy the token, it's useful token, and we do have plans, of course, to like, build economies and curves, like launch bonding curves that are collateralized by the Give token. But VCs are not like, oh, a donation platform. I love nonprofits, or oh, a reputation system. That's a moneymaker. So the fact that Optimism has so many options to build in the DAO space, interesting tooling, is like is just magical. And my experience in those systems has been, they're still too political. Like I have a huge advantage. I have a huge advantage. I'm a well-known figure in the space. I'm a badge holder, a delegate, and like all these things, and that gives me a huge advantage over other builders. And I don't think that's fair. And it's really difficult to overcome. And I think Optimism is doing it the best, but there's still a long ways to go.
And we are talking about optimism all the time, but optimism right now is a super chain, right? It's not just optimism. We are building super chain, and even one of the, I don't remember which one was it, but I like actually pointed out that one of the things that you've been showing, you've been doing this on Base. Uh, so I wanted to ask you, like, how does the super chain vision affect you, and like, how do you position yourself and your projects in the bigger super chain vision of optimism?
Yeah, so give a palooza round, the matching pools on base, and praise the attestation is happening on base. So, and that's because coordinates attestations are happening on base. We didn't choose that chain, right? It's just like where it is. Um, I think the superchain vision is interesting. I think it's a novel approach. This joining the superchain seems a little bit uh, expensive to me. If I were a chain, I wouldn't necessarily be all about giving 15% of my revenue, uh, sequencer revenue to it. And also this like the idea of like, mm, I'm a little skeptical of the viability of the super chain, but I am not a businessman. So maybe I'm really just not the I'm an entrepreneur, but like, a nonprofit entrepreneur. So maybe I'm getting things wrong here.
But how do you position your projects? Like, are you planning on continue building on optimism, or are you planning to expand on all the chains of the super chain? Like, how do you see it?
Well, we're definitely like for Pairwise, the next version of Pairwise is going to be super cool. It's going to have a delegation instead of like connecting to your wallet. You can also delegate to someone else's. And we're talking to Cello, we're talking to WorldCoin and World Chain, which is launching the World Chain soon. And so we're focused on super chains because, there's a what's nice about this is that Optimism is the super chain. And I feel a lot of loyalty to Optimism. One of the biggest problems in the grants ecosystem in Web3 is this grant farming, where you go from chain to chain to chain in ecosystem. You offer a somewhat of a similar service or something, the next improvement of your protocol, and you have no loyalty to any chains. I feel in debt. I feel loyalty to Optimism and the super chain. And what I like about the super chain is that now I can work with World Chain, I can work with Cello, I can work with Mode, I can work with Base, and I don't have to feel like I'm like doing something wrong. There's no guilt there. So that's a relief. And I'm definitely talking to all the super chains. But then it's still what I don't like is that it makes me hesitant to build in Arbitrum, you know? It makes me hesitant to build in Polygon. I have a really big, important project for me and what I'm working towards. It's called QAC in the Polygon ecosystem. That's launching microeconomies. It's a new kind of grant system. But it's like, I'm like a little embarrassed. But like, I'm Jordi Bellina. One of my co-founders in QAC is in the Polygon ecosystem, Zero X Justice, and it's like that's just where it needs to be. You know, we got a big grant from Polygon, and that's where it is. And it's like I tried, I actually talked to several people, Carl and Mark and you know, Jonas and a bunch of people about like, hey, what if we launched bonding curves and the retro funding funds from retro funding rounds would go into a bonding curve and initialize a token in Optimism. You know, I pitched them this kind of model that we're building, and you know that it's like, oh, what is the securities law? What is this? Da, da. You know, like there's all these scary things, and so I tried, and it didn't work, and it's okay. You know, it didn't hook. It didn't hook, and so we found it in Polygon, and I don't know. I don't really like the tribalism. To me, it's not that important what chain you're on, but I do want to do everyone right when someone gives me funding, you know, and I want to keep that project in their ecosystem to continue that until I feel like we added more value than we extracted. You know, it's kind of like this general model of like when you leave a room, did you leave the room better than you found it? Just in every room that you walked in. And you know, this is like a value I guess, of mine and of a lot of builders in this space. And I think that's where things get a little dicey. And then, but then it's like, oh, so psychopaths, or you don't have to be psychopaths, just people who are motivated by their own like profit motives, you know, that they have a huge advantage here because what I should be doing is
Yeah.
grant farming and going to every ecosystem and be like, you know, we'll do this, we'll do that. And you know, once Pairwise has provided enough value to the super chain, we will absolutely be going to other chains, but we just haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, to start wrapping it up, because you have another call as well, but also to not make it too lengthy. I think I want to wrap up with one final question, but like really short. Is you know, this whole purpose of this podcast is like to learn about builders on optimism and kind of like get them out there and present them and learn more about both ourselves but also the community. But I think it's also like from my perspective, at least being in governance, I think it's interesting to see from builders' perspective, what can the collective and kind of like the DAO do more for builders on optimism.
Well, we're definitely getting the funding. You know, like Optimism is doing a great job at funding projects on Optimism, like better than almost any ecosystem, maybe too much. Um, I really like how tokens are locked. It makes things difficult, but there was this like for builders, there was this like program where they were like, hey, you could take a loan out against the grant that, you know, that you get in Optimism. And I haven't really seen access to that funding that was kind of sort of promised, you know? Uh, I think that program sort of exists, but it should be promoted more. Because like if you get a grant in Optimism, it's locked for a year and it's really hard to build with no funding. So if you could take a loan against that grant, that would be really helpful.
Just to clarify, because like I'm not the Grants Council member anymore, but I used to be, and the real like how it was supposed to work is that it definitely wasn't a loan against your grant. Like it specifically wasn't that.
Of
It
course,
was
because
rather it was supposed to be, yeah. So I want to make it very clear. Like we never were supposed to have loans against the approved grants, but rather there was a program that was supposed to provide some initial funding to cover the expenses while doing the grant. But to be honest, I also don't know where did it go. I think that it didn't work out
yeah,
after all because like we are not seeing it anymore. But yeah,
exactly.
like it wasn't a loan. Like
Yes,
taking
of
a loan
course, it's
against
not
your
a
grant
loan
is prohibited.
because the grant isn't actually money. And this is the other thing
Yes.
Optimism can do. They can like fucking decentralize and get rid of all of this bullshit where you have to dance around the reality of the situation that we're actually in. The OP is money. It has value, and when you get a grant, it's money. And I know Optimism can't say that, but that's because lawyers tell them they can't say that. And I'm just honestly, I'm, you know, after like 10 years of this bullshit in this space, like the lawyers telling us what's real and not is like it's like double speak, and I'm so sick of it. I'm so sick of it. I just can't live with that. And I have to live, I have to do the same things, like there's little things you have to dance around. But this is why what optimism could do to help builders, fully decentralize, get rid of the foundation, get rid of the legal overhead however you can, and just talk in real speak, because like the double speak is just it kills me. It really bugs me. I'm just an anarchist, that's my problem. I just don't have any respect for these like weird securities laws and limitations that are put on our space from external parties. That's not what I got in here for. So yeah.
Let's take it as the main takeaway of this discussion. I know that there are people who will like what you just said. Uh, there are others who will not. But it's fair. Thank you very much. It was an amazing adventure through the Giveth Galaxy. I think we'll be getting back to you. We will have more questions, and I will definitely sit down and at least do those vouchers and
Yeah.
flags. Like I would play with that. I had a lot of fun playing with Pairwise in RF4, and now I want to go through the projects in DeVouch.
And
So once again,
RF5,
yeah,
RF5 and RF6 are going to be even better. Just wait,
yeah.
man. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
I want to
epic.
play
So
with all the Giveth Galaxy stuff as well. Now that you've kind of like showcased them to us.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you guys.
Thank you
Talk
very
to you
much.
soon.
Take care.
Bye.